All right, so without further ado, let's go see how to make procedural textures. And the actual goal here is to show you how to use like the nodes in Blender, at least the basics of using the nodes. And at the same time, we're going to have fun with the textures, of course. They are kind of fun, procedural textures. Okay, so now here's the example from previously, where I had these two different objects that had to be connected. I could, of course, disconnect them again. Connect them again. Just to remind you how it was done. So there were two different objects that had to be connected somehow. So I used
Your hair is in the mic again.
I should wear some sort of scarf or something. Okay, anyway, here, I hope you're hearing me now. So I connected the faces by clicking F on the keyboard, or actually I made a face between these edges. So this might also be practical to you when you're making rooms and openings, which would mean windows or doors, which people do quite often in 3D. Okay, so it also has that practical thing. Okay, I'm just going to go away from edit mode and just delete this object that I don't need. And what I now need to do is to scale this character and this pool into a more fitting size. And then start making the, still smaller, I think. Then start making textures to it. Okay, when is it beneath the earth? Okay. And the pool is huge, so let's make it smaller. It could be a bit bigger though. Yeah, why not? Right. So where should I start with the textures? So maybe I could start with the stones. And let's go into the shading mode. And actually, when I go to the shading workspace, then I will also get to see the nodes for the textures. And now all of these stones do have the same texture. Let's go see what it is. Yeah, it's called material 002. And if I look here, I can see all the materials. So nothing very exciting there, but this is how one way of how you can change the material you have on an object. You can also have several materials on one object, and by clicking plus, you can get them there. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, now what you can see here are the so-called nodes, and there are two nodes which, well, one of them you can see over here too. It's the principal BSDF, and then there's the material output. So without the output, we can't see anything at all. So the output has to be always there. And the nodes, they have a direction from which they flow. They flow from the left to the right. So then you put all kinds of stuff together. Like here, there are two nodes that have been connected. There's also a volume, which means how the object is looking from the inside, or actually you can make fog, for instance, with volumes. So it doesn't have anything to do with audio. It means a volume of, for instance, water, or a volume of fog or smoke. Okay, so I changed the base color before, as you can see, and now let's see what else there is. And I'll change the view here so that I can see better what kind of the stones they look like. So what do we have here? We have metallic, we have specular, which you might remember was how shiny something was. So when I'm changing specularity, you might see that it becomes shinier or less shiny, like stones. If they are not polished, they are usually not very shiny, let's say, unless they are wet. And there's metallic, which also gives a certain shine, or maybe sheen would be the word. So if I want to make something that is extra shiny, then I put the specular and metallics up. But now I don't want them to be too shiny, so I'll turn them down a little bit. Then there's the subsurface, which means like the color that can be seen, so to say, under the base color. Now, there is no subsurface. It's all zero, but I can show like how it would affect this one. Let's make the subsurface color into this red, and then change the subsurface a little bit. So by default, this goes to from 0 to 1. But fun fact, if you set this up to more than 10, like 20 maybe, then you get these objects that glow in this ghostly light. You can try that out on your own if you want to, and maybe I'll try that out later with a character, like a glowing guy. Might be a fun idea. But now you can see that there is this like red subsurface glow, like a tiny glow. So perhaps I'll keep it. Right, so let's start making some changes, some textures here. So what I want to do, I want to create a couple more nodes over here and then connect them to the base color. So how to create new nodes, just like you created new anything new, from the add menu. And there's the add menu here, and also the shortcut is Shift A, just like in the layout and a workspace. Okay, so this is what I get from the add menu. It doesn't look like much, but there is this huge amount of weird stuff here. So what do I take from here? By the way, you can see that there's also translucent, glass, glossy. So I talked about textures. So here they are. If I wanted to have like a picture from the outside, then I would use the image texture, but we are not doing that today. We're going to use only the so-called procedural textures that are inside Blender. And so there are a lot of them. So I'll start with something simple. Let's try out maybe the checker texture, although I'm not sure if that's good for this, but just to show you how this works. Okay, so here's checker texture, and there's two colors that we can use, or we can put another texture over the color. But so there's like the simple white and gray. So I'll connect that to the base color. So all of these should become this checker like white and gray. And then there's the red as the subsurface color still showing up. Okay, so easy enough. Also, it's quite easy to figure out how this goes, that you change the scale from here. Here's an interesting thing in 3D when you have textures. When you put the scale to a small number, then the texture looks bigger. When you put the number in as a big number, then it goes up. And now, as we haven't done any like UV mapping on these objects, the textures will look a little bit weird, and we'll talk about UV mapping later on with better time. I could, of course, change these settings a little bit and see if that how that works, but it doesn't work. Show up much of it, anything. Okay, so maybe checker texture was not the thing that I want for these stones, so I just disconnect it. Also, I can just click X to get rid of it. And let's try something else. Now, Voronoi, or Musgrave, those might be more interesting ones. And also we can then maybe use some color nodes together with these. Okay, so let's connect the yellow color node with the base color node. So these are the basic Voronois. They come in all kinds of colors, but we can also tell the Voronois to be only certain colors. Okay, let's put this into 40, let's say. And the model could be, I think 3D is good. The model could be, instead of Euclidean, let's try out Minkowski. I'm not quite sure if I like Minkowski here. Then there's again the scale and randomness. Which is now quite high, but I can set it to be lower. So what I want to do is I want to add a color node here between these. So let's see, there's color, there's the mix RGB, which might be good for this. Also, I can find colors from here, from the converter. There's the color ramp, for instance, that I could use. Let's try that out. So I'm just putting this node in between here and it will connect automatically. And I can already see that the colors are more muted, and I could now start changing them. Or I could put several different colors here. I'll just have to click on these to activate the color on the color ramp. So you have used Photoshop, so you know how color ramps work. So there should be nothing new to you in this. Okay, that's too much of the same color. So by clicking a plus, I can make a new color in between. And it's starting to lag, I see. I should save at some point. Okay, maybe I'll do it now and save it. Okay, so maybe I'm not too pleased with the Voronoi yet, but it's okay-ish. I could, of course, add another texture to the Voronoi if I wanted to, with something called a mix. Also, I could start playing around and try to see what happens if I connect the Voronoi to the displacement mode. Let's see. This might, well, wasn't much. So let's see if this does it. There's sometimes interesting things that happen, but I'm now a little bit disappointed. Okay, so let's leave this as it is, and let's go try some other objects here. What kind of things we could do there, if we could mix different sorts of textures. So obviously you're going to have more time to try out these textures on your own. Okay, so now I have the terrain selected. So let's go try out how this would look like with a couple of different textures. I could have just copied the ones from earlier, from the stones, but this time I want to do something else. Okay, let's start with the this checker. Yeah, maybe I'll try out the waves. So as you can see, the waves also have a lot of options in them. Now I don't have any subsurface color. Also the specular is quite high, and like Earth is usually the opposite of reflective. So I put the specular to 0. And you probably notice that each of these have like their nodes. Like, I mean, you can put nodes into all of these. And that's what we're going to explore later on in this course. Okay, so here we have a simple wave texture, and to my taste, it's a little bit too simple right now. So let's put a little bit of distortion there. And scale it into something smaller. Yeah, why not? Also add a little bit of detail and try out the detail scaling. A bit too far. And here. Of course, I could have tried out different things here. Instead of bands, try rings, and then instead of a cine wave, try a saw or triangle wave, but I was happy with this right now. And then let's go. Okay, what I could do here is to mix this with another texture, like I said. Or maybe just add a color. So I showed you the color ramp. Let's see what the other color options are. So maybe the mix RGB is good here. So let's put it here. It started actually looking quite horrible, I have to admit. So maybe this was not such a good idea after all, to have the mix RGB. Yeah, trouble is that when I start thinking about the styles and stuff, then my verbal functions seem to leave me. Okay, and I could try out different ways of mixing these colors, but I'm actually not quite sure if they will help at all, because it seems to take a long time to take on. Okay, so maybe I'll just leave it like this, maybe change it a little bit into a darker color. Okay. Okay, moving on to the fool and to the character. Maybe let's take the character first. Oh, and it's this one. I need to rename it from G to character to for the laptop. It's a little bit tricky to show things here. I think there's some sort of view now. And usually I would have sculpted the character looking so that it could look better, but no, I didn't have the time for that. Right, so it doesn't seem to have any sort of material yet, so I'll need to create it. And there we go. And the question is again, do I want to have some subsurface colors going on? Maybe. There's, of course, always the risk that the program will be overloaded and it will crash on me. I love to have subsurface colors. By the way, I could also have a subsurface texture. So we could try that. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to show you how to make the like weird glow on the character. So if I just click this and make 20, this is what happens. The subsurface takes it over totally. And if I go to the like shaded, okay, it's not enough yet. So let's put specularity off. Or maybe I just should just quit playing with the subsurface and return to the, let's put 0.5 to it. So now it has this small reddish tint inside it. So that's enough for now. Okay, I wanted to mix a couple of procedural textures here. So I'll create 2. Well, let's have the, let's have bricks Then I want to have something inside the bricks. Okay, there's bricks. And this is how they look like right now. If the character was UV mapped, they would look somewhat better. Okay, I could change the colors here, of course, to something else. This. And let's put the subsurface a little bit downwards so we can see the original colors better. There we go. And then there's mortar between them. And change the frequency of these tiles, squash them. There's the scaling. So let's see what happens if I mix two textures. Well, there are a couple of ways I could do it. So, okay, let's have the waves here as well. Maybe it's a bit too much, but let's see about that. Okay, I moved it too far up. There we go. So if I want to mix these two textures, I need to have a mix node. The mix shader. So I put these two together from here, and then I'll connect the mix shader into the base color. And it's showing that it doesn't like it. I did something very wrong here. Okay, I think I know what it was that I made wrong, because it's showing me red over here. I should have put the mix shader into here and not there. Okay, my bad. Okay, what I should have done was to put the wave texture and put it on one of these colors. For instance, here. So now the waves are going over there. Not sure if this is a good idea at all. So I'll just scrap that idea. So how to mix this, how to use this mix shader. You take, so where you actually put it is over here. So what I would need here is to maybe have this emission or maybe some translucency. Or make it, okay, let's try the glass, although I'm not sure if it will work with this. Okay, so let's see how the glass works on its own without anything. So now when I disconnect this, it will show only black without any mixture. The glass on its own will look like this. You can also change the color of that glass. I'm going to bluish. Okay, this is not bad. Okay, now if I want to mix these two, then obviously I put the glass BSDF here and the principal BSDF over there, and then I'll just connect them to the surface. So now there's a little bit of glossiness. And from the factor, I can say which one takes the bigger role. So for instance, so yes, that's like how this is done in a nutshell with these nodes and textures. And what I still want to show you, of course, is how to handle the camera and how to render stuff out of here. But I'll stop sharing for a while now to hear your questions.